Interesting. What to look at next? Let's try the mushrooms, just to try and get more info on her actual parents who had died. Okay, there's a couple of things. Keyword mushrooms. This is the June 27th interview. We'll see if we can find out any more about Hannah and Eve's biological parents and how they died.
No. The whole thing was wrong. The bags, I think they were from our kitchen. You can probably check that. We never go into the cellar. It's just a place we put things we don't need. Dad used to grow mushrooms there. The bags were taped up. I think it was parcel tape, but I think it was ours.
Okay, so she claims they never went to the cellar. That's not true. Because they did to store Simon's body. Her dad grew mushrooms in there. So let's see what this other clip says about mushrooms. Let's see if it's of any relevance. This is the June 30th clip.
They said it was food poisoning. There was something in the food they ate. My dad liked to pick mushrooms, grow them too. They said it was the mushrooms. It was hard to believe. Death caps. They have a skirt around the cap. My dad taught me that. But, the police had no reason to think it was suspicious. They lived alone. And no one had any reason to hurt them.
So their dad taught them about death caps and somehow they ate them. Did they kill their parents? Or did Eve? That might be what happened. Let's see if we can get anything from death cap. Oops. Death caps. Nothing new. So, failed keyword death caps. So let's try parents. Just flat out parents and see if we can find out if one of them actually killed the parents. There we go. Keyword parents. This is the June 25th interview. We will see what we can learn about her parents, or their parents.
I got pregnant. Both our parents had a big powwow. We weren't even in the room. And they decided we should get married.
So Simon and Hannah got pregnant. And parents decided for them to get married. Because they were 17, I think is that when they got married. So let's see what she has to say here.
No. I lost the baby. I had a miscarriage at 8 months. We carried on living at Simon's parents until, well, it was only a few months after.
So she says here that she lost the baby. So there must be a different baby. So she must have got pregnant a second time because then she miscarried this baby and they were still living with Simon's parents. Okay, let's see what this clip has to say. There's like 19 entries for parents.
Then my parents died. It was the worst year of my life. A miscarriage and then my parents.
So her parents died shortly after the miscarriage. I'm thinking that was Eve. I think this is Hannah right here. And I think Eve did it. Let's see what she says here. Getting more information about her parents.
Yes. I inherited it from my parents, so it made sense to move back. Me and Simon. Felt like going back to old ways before the pregnancy. Reminded me of being a girl, a dollhouse in the attic, old things. We didn't sleep in my parents' bedroom for a long time. We decorated it as soon as we moved in, but it was another year before we started sleeping there.
Something really new there. Okay. There's one more word I want to look up that seemed like it might be relevant, and that was her mentioning fairy tales. Oh. Interesting. There are 7 entries to that. Weird. Keyword fairy tale. Let's check this first clip. These are all new too. This is the 27th of June. What does she have to say about fairy tales here?
Sorry. The picture, the way it's drawn, just reminded me of the books we used to read as children. I read those fairy tales over and over, and they were so real to me. Rapunzel was my favourite. My brain is just full of it. Are any of these in colour?
So fairy tales are her favorite. Especially Rapunzel, which is interesting because Rapunzel was locked in a tower. So maybe could this be, no, this can't be Eve, right? Hannah was the one that was pregnant? I don't know who was pregnant, that's a question. So that might be Hannah, right? I mean, Eve right there, who was locked away. So the second clip, this is the July 1st interview.
And the Glaziers. I worked there some weekends and Simon had a part-time job there too. That was Eric's generosity. He was always good at helping out other people's children. Simon was quiet, more thoughtful than the other boys. Even then, he had a sense of craftsmanship. Wasn't always rushing stuff. Boys that age are just running around like headless chickens most of the time. You know? Plus, he had that look. He looked like a fairy tale prince from one of my books.
So again, there's like a theme here of it all being like a fairy tale. So he was like a fairy tale prince to her.
Simon never cheated on me. He was devoted to me, and I was devoted to him. Nothing in life is easy. We were good to each other. Life isn't a fairy tale. You do what you can.
Interesting. Let's see what she has. This is the big reveal one. So we'll probably get some interesting info from these last two.
Well, she wasn't my real mother, but she raised me. Do you want to hear the story? It's a real life fairy tale.
Okay, I think she's talking about Florence there. See what she has to say. That didn't really have too much info. Except that Eve is clearly way too into fairy tales. There she says again, fairy tales.
Fairy tales. Stories about lost princesses, evil witches, magical mirrors and lost children. So you see, even before I knew the truth, I'd found it in those stories.
Interesting. Let's check out this. There's still so much we haven't found. There's still 3 really big words, keywords that we need to look up. She says she had an STD. We need to look up pregnant and baby. I'm gonna start with the STD. Only one new one. That's interesting. So keyword STD. And this is the July 3rd interview. This is Eve talking. So Eve had an STD. Make a note of that. Eve had STD. Let's see what she has to say.
No. The parents decided there would be a wedding. And after the wedding, Hannah moved in with his parents. There was no way I could follow. So we were separated again. I stayed in the attic. It was hard. It's like I suddenly didn't exist. I would sneak out, but in case anyone recognized me, I started wearing a wig. Hannah and I would meet up in the park. I was trying to get pregnant. But I couldn't. I couldn't do it with anyone we knew, so it was sex with strangers, drunk guys I'd met in clubs, parks and alleyways. I was 17. It felt like I was being punished. But it was Hannah who had betrayed us. I had to stop when one of the guys gave me an STD. When we met up, it was disturbing. For the first time, my reflection, she didn't look like me. She was fatter, flushed. If anything, I was getting skinnier. I found it hard to look sometimes. We talked about what to do. Was it time to become our own people? That seemed like the right thing to do, but neither of us wanted it. We agreed that her and Simon would get their own place as soon as possible, and then I could move in. And that was the plan.
So because Hannah had to move in with Simon's parents, they were separated for the first time, but they would meet up in the park. But Hannah looked different now because she was pregnant, and that upset Eve. So she desperately tried to get pregnant too at 17 and ended up with an STD. And she felt that Hannah had betrayed them. And so they wanted to get a house of their own so that Eve could move in. So, interesting. So let's look up pregnant. Let's see how much we can learn about that. Couple of new things.
No. Well, yes. You found out on my birthday. I told him I was pregnant.
Keeps lighting up whenever it does that. So, so she's pregnant here. What? No, don't want to do that. Okay.
It's Rapunzel. The story starts when she's born. Mother Gothel, a witch, takes Rapunzel from her parents and keeps her locked up in this tower. Rapunzel gets pregnant by the prince, and Mother Gothel is furious, so she cuts off her hair and throws it. Actually, her hair's already short here, so that's already happened. So she throws her into the wilderness, and Rapunzel is reunited with the prince, who's blind. But she kills him with her tears, and so it's a happy ending. Is that too much?
New achievement. Let's try pregnancy. There's nothing to write down for the other one, so there will probably be something to write down for this one. So let's see what she has to say about the pregnancy.
Hannah had a miscarriage. This was late in the pregnancy and it left her infertile. Felt like the universe had corrected its course. We were aligned again. But Hannah and Simon were still living with his parents. They were married. Simon had a job at the Glaziers now. Eric had given him a full-time position after he left school. And then...
So then who's pregnant? So is the girl in the orange shirt Eve and she got pregnant? Because she says Hannah was infertile because of the miscarriage, which Eve was pleased by because they were the same again. God, that's so weird. So that has to be then... So it has to be Eve who got pregnant. I'm gonna look up miscarriage and see if there's anything more about that. Okay, there's two more about that. Let's see if it's anything relevant.
Yeah. They'd gone to bed feeling ill, thinking it was flu or something. The neighbour called me, I had to use my key to let them in. We found them dead in their bed. And they'd been there for days. No one had noticed. Just awful. It was so soon after my miscarriage. The worst year of my life. I'd been so happy to get married, and after that it was just like, fuck.
There's a little bit more about the parents. They were just found dead.
Yeah. I mean, I was infertile. Thought I was. They told me I was infertile after the miscarriage because of complications.
So she's not not infertile? I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay. Those are both from the June 30th interview. So the only thing left to look up is baby. It has to give us something. Okay.
We couldn't afford our own place. Simon dropped out of school, went full-time at the Glaziers. That was Eric's generosity. We moved in with his mum and dad. They had a spare room for us and the baby, if it came. It was a nice change, time to myself, living there for those months, full of hope.
Not really anything new there. Let's see if we can get more info from these other clips.
It was after dinner. I had spoken to Simon's parents on the phone. I looked up for an early night and I suddenly had this thought. I think it was something his mum had said. She'd been speaking about old stuff, sad stuff, about when we lived there, about the baby. There's some boxes in the cellar, nursery stuff we never needed, and I never had the heart to throw out. And I suddenly remembered that when I'd looked down there the week before, those boxes, that pile was in the wrong place. I went cold all over. I went down there with a torch and went straight to the back, and that's when I saw the bin bags. Pulled them open, saw the body. I screamed, and that's when I called the police.
So that's where they're making up the alibi about Simon's body. Because we know from earlier that, from other interviews, that they killed Simon and then stored him in the cellar. So let's see what this says.
Yes. It was a shock to him. I mean, we never thought it was possible. I don't know what I hadn't decided whether to keep the baby. I wasn't really ready to talk to him about it.
I feel like we're missing some key bits here. What about cellar? Yes or no? Probably not. Nope.
Well, fine, considering. I got back into the house today, and that was weird, knowing your people have been there through my things. It's like I've been burgled. I mean, worse, obviously. I don't know. I haven't looked in the cellar yet. They sent a cleaner in. As good as new, he said. But they had to throw some stuff out. Couldn't get the blood out. And I'm still waiting to hear from the coroner so we can get a date set for the funeral. It's going to be a cremation. So